What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Early Look. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. It is currently 12:10 p.m. Eastern as we take our first look, or early look of the slate. For those of you who are new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the notifications bell. Make sure you're notified whenever we go live. We do all kinds of free content on the YouTube channel as well as the Twitch channel. So if you could subscribe, hit the notifications bell, make sure that you don't miss out when we do go live. We cover a multitude of sports. We had the PGA stream last night. Our NASCAR stream on Sundays have been picking up, building up some steam, if you will. And of course, we bang out the NBA shows Monday through Friday, and we'll be doing the same for baseball once we're in the full swing of baseball, which is coming up. I'm going to ask real quick, and you'll hear me periodically say this throughout this stream. If you guys could hit the like button, really goes a long way, really helps us out, allows us to continue to do dirties on the YouTube DFS world. So like buttons go a long way. They help us out, allow others to find us. It's what get YouTube to recommend us. And the more we grow, the more we'll be able to do, the more free stuff we'll be able to keep around. So hit the like button, guys. You guys have been great with it. Yesterday was awesome. You guys were really, really good. I know yesterday we didn't get a chance to do the early look. Just recently got a dog. We adopted a dog, so he's keeping me busy, just trying to make sure he don't ruin my house and all that shit. But he's actually been really good, so it's all good there. Maybe I'll post some pictures on my Twitter at CK_013 for those of you interested. But that's not what this is about, right? That's not what this is about. This is about NBA DFS, and we have a pretty awesome slate, pretty interesting slate, right? But I don't know, maybe it's too early for me to judge. We have some key injuries. I see already in the chat some of you guys talking about Jakob Poeltl. Yep, got some of that. Kelly Oubre's out also. Jakob Poeltl because LMA is out, etc., etc. But we're gonna go game by game. We're gonna talk about it all. What up, Dan? Daniel D says CK. What up? What up? What up? Anybody in the chat? Feel free to talk away, chat away in the chat, and in between games, I'll come over there and check it out. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. Any comments? But shout out to the nation, man. The nation continues to be strong. Those of you subscribed to WiseTake.com, man. You guys have been really loyal, and I think it's because that we're just doing everything we can to make sure our content is elite, and I really do think we're there. And I know our cheat sheets are now automated off of our projections so that you're getting up-to-the-minute updates. I update the projections all throughout the day. The projections that you see on the screen here are my projections. They're the WiseTake Nation projections, and they're available for download at WiseTake.com with an NBA DFS pass or monthly membership. With that said, the projections don't look like this when you get them. They're just there to be downloaded so you can upload them into any optimizer that you may use. Lineup HQ for Motor Grinders is a free one. I believe it's free. But anyway, if you want them, they're there. If not, it is what it is. This is a visual that I made if you guys can follow along. But that's my contribution on the NBA content side, is besides the streaming, is of course the actual projections themselves are the ones I use every single night. And you can go look me up. Look me up. I've had a really good NBA season. I mean, that's what we do, right? That's like, I don't pat myself on the back because that's what is expected from us. Not saying you win every night in tournaments, because you don't. If you want a good win and loss record, you should be playing cash games and focusing real hard on that. But in tournaments, it's not about the win-loss record. It's about your ROI, return on investment, your profitability over the course of a season. And that's how we do it. With that said, hit the like button, follow along. Let's get started with our first game. We've got the New York Knicks visiting the Charlotte Hornets. We have a 208 total, actually up 2 points from 206. The Knicks are currently 1.5-point favorites on the road. Shout out to Jay Irv. He's back from his little trip, and he does have the schedule notes article posted. The schedule notes article is a free article, so I do recommend anybody who doesn't check this out, you should start your day by looking at this and just being aware of the schedule, what teams are on back-to-backs, what teams are on 3 and 4s, etc. I know it's after the All-Star break, so the schedule's, but we are ready. We have guys in some tough stretches. So first of all, the Knicks have had a day off, but this is the front end of a back-to-back for them, so keep that in mind. They do play tomorrow. Charlotte is on the back end of a back-to-back, which is why they bailed so quickly yesterday. I mean, they were getting destroyed. They didn't have a shot, but one of the reasons that they bailed yesterday, and we knew that going in, I just kind of, once we had Devontae Graham ruled out, I was in on Malik Monk. I didn't give a damn. He's just done it too many times, and unfortunately, his team he had a bad game, and his team just had a really bad game, and they were limited. And you factor in they had a game tomorrow, so they just kind of threw in the towel a little early. With that said, this is one of the lower totals on the board. Charlotte, a very, very slow team. The Knicks, not fast either. But Charlotte is among the slowest. I believe they are the slowest team in the game, despite the fact that they don't play very good defense. We're going to start off with the Knicks. We always start with the road team. I think Elfrid Payton is probable, I believe, is expected to be back, but we'll wait for confirmation. With him coming back, that's obviously going to push DSJ kind of to the side, at least in terms of optimal plays. Frank Nitti is out, so there is some opportunity for him, but we do know RJ Barrett also typically plays some point guard, so not really sure where to pull the trigger there. As you can see, nobody from the Knicks is really projecting all that well. I think we have some flexibility with Julius Randle. We saw Sabonis just smash these guys, and I'm not saying that Randle is Sabonis. I understand that he is not. But I do respect the fact that they've struggled against this position pretty much all season. Let's see what happens if we erase Randle's minutes to 36.5. So Randle in the last game didn't play much against Houston. That game was a blowout, but we recently seen stretches in games that are winnable for them where he has played more. I'm a little reluctant to go too heavy because they do have a game tomorrow, and they're not playing for shit. But yeah, there wasn't a ton here that got me excited. Obviously, our projections take pace into consideration, and so if their prices were lower, we'd be a lot more interested because the prices are up. It's kind of tough. Mitch Robinson would definitely be someone I would normally want interest in. We love centers against Charlotte. It's just his minutes have been a little too inconsistent to really project him high enough to where he would be, popping, if you will. Let me see here. I just want to check and see what he's done recently. Mitch Rob, where you at, Mitch Rob? Well, he got 26 minutes against Houston, went for 36. That's not bad. 17 against Indiana. It's the foul trouble thing, man. But he's not really playing any imposing centers. Against Washington, he didn't either. Still had 5 fouls. So he'd probably be the one for tournaments to keep an eye on. Maybe we'll give him a little more of a boost. Give him, say, 22 minutes, and that should help. But again, it's just tough. When you're dealing with guys who get into foul trouble often, it's always tough to project them at a point where you know you're going to get a lot of them. It's just a risk. And of course, they're not, losing people. If anything, they're gaining a body here, even though it's not at the same position. So not too much on the Knicks front for me, but I am interested in Julius Randle to a degree. On the Charlotte side, we're expecting Devontae Graham to be back. He missed for rest yesterday. On FanDuel, he's 5'9". That's just insanely cheap. On DraftKings, 6'7" is still cheap, but obviously not, insanely cheap, like I just said. Outside of that, I think curious to see if they rest anyone else today. If they rested Graham last night, do they rest Rozier today? What do they do? So keep an eye out on that as we approach and get closer to lockdown to stretch. PJ Washington is okay. He is every day, kind of projects well. Same thing with Cody Zeller. I think Cody Martin for value is kind of interesting. Obviously, we would like to have an injury or so to kind of open it up, but he's already been in the rotation. We have other options that are very, very cheap today, like Jakob Poeltl, but I guess a potential pivot. Again, just not a situation where I'm trying to get heavily vested. The Charlotte side as a team, because of their pricing, is projecting better than the Knicks, and you expect this game to stay close because both these teams suck. But the Charlotte side looks like the side we would end up with more of if we even get to that point, especially if we get some more injuries coming up in here. Interestingly enough, I'm sure Malik Monk's price will be really low today after being chalk yesterday. But, with that said. Just checking on the dog, making sure he's not eating my shit, you know what I'm saying? Yep, going to his bed. Good boy, he's a good boy. That's right. I named him Trey Dollar at first, but then we changed it because decided to call him Patches. But for a little bit, for a full day, I was calling him Trey Dollar. It was cool. But anyway, yeah, so the Charlotte side projecting a lot better because of their soft pricing. Pay attention to see if anybody gets ruled out. Malik Monk should be pretty low on today after being a chalk bust yesterday. We always seen situations like that where teams bail and then, people bail and then all of a sudden he steps it up. All right. Let's go on to the next game. We've got, what do we got here? The Philadelphia 76ers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's take a look. We know Ben Simmons is out indefinitely. That's rough. The 76ers have had a day off. They are in the midst of a 3-5. They have a front end of a back-to-back, so that's worth noting. They do have a game tomorrow. The Cleveland Cavaliers are working with a day's rest. They are in the midst of a 4-6 stretch, so a little tougher stretch in the schedule. But again, it's not a back-to-back, so it could be worse. I guess that's how we could look at it. The issue, of course, with these teams, over here we have a 216 total, down 4 points from 220. The Philadelphia 76ers are 7.5-point favorites on the road. See, this is interesting because obviously Cleveland's been awful. They did hang tough at home with Miami, went to overtime against them, but for the most part, they've just been a disaster. On the flip side of that, I know the Philadelphia 76ers are expected to be a better team overall, and they certainly are. But the Philadelphia 76ers have really struggled on the road. Really, really struggled on the road. So curious to see what wins out today. Cleveland and how bad they are, or Philly and how bad they've been on the road. So let's go ahead and get into it. Al Horford always projects well. He really only seems to do anything when Embiid's off the court. We have Ben Simmons out, which should help. But I'm never really all that excited for Al Horford these days unless Embiid is out. I think Jay Rich, his price has come up, but I am interested. He's playing big minutes. His usage has been okay. Wasn't great last time out in his last game, but wasn't terrible either. Tobias Harris, the price is elevated on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I'm cool with it. On DraftKings, the price is elevated, but he's been really good. And when Simmons is out, when anybody's out, he's going to be the one that's going to take more actual jump shots and shoot the ball a little bit more. And then, of course, you got Joel Embiid. The price is up. He smashed in his last game. Cleveland's been terrible against centers. I know that Andre Drummond is here, but they're not even playing Drummond a ton of minutes for whatever reason. So I think Embiid is okay. I'm going to raise him up to a full 34 just to kind of reflect the usage increase. We know Embiid's usage with Simmons off the court does go up, right? So we expect to see these starters do that. On the Cleveland side, Kevin Love, these guys went to overtime in their last game, so they all played pretty big minutes. Kevin Porter Jr., we had talked on the last stream we did about how he was expected to step up and expected to do all these things, and, it kind of wasn't really happening. But, it does seem like that last game, they really, really let him go. They just really cut him loose, let him do dirties, all that good stuff. So he's somebody I got in the back of my mind. Other than that, it's kind of tough to pinpoint who you want. Andre Drummond's extremely cheap on DraftKings, but Andre Drummond is playing like 22 to 24 minutes a game. It's really, really tough. I think Kevin Love is interesting, especially on DraftKings. But the Cleveland side of it is a little trickier, right? They're not playing for anything. They're being weird with their rotations. Tristan Thompson's gone to the bench. I don't know if it was a motivational thing getting Drummond, but they got Drummond and th're not playing in big minutes. I don't know if it's a conservation thing, trying to conserve him since they don't feel like they need anything. I'm not really sure. But we're going to go on to the next game in just a second. I will be right back. All right, let's go on to the next. Got to chase the puppy down. Man, you better behave your ass. All right. Next up, we got the Brooklyn Nets visiting the Washington Wizards. This should be a pretty good one in terms of fantasy. I think that's what we all anticipate. I'm going to pop in the chat real quick and say what up, Sarge or Cam, that's a good one. We'll get there when we get to that game. That's a good one. Yeah, the whole Charlotte team rested last night. Absolutely. Yeah, Monk's price actually went up. Yeah, the algorithms oftentimes take into account ownership. So at least on DraftKings, even if a guy sucks, if he was like crazy popular, it's like a supply and demand thing into their algorithm. So the price will go up just from like popularity. All right, here we are with the Brooklyn side. We've got a 234 total. It's one of the highest on the board. Brooklyn opened up -1.5. They're up to -2, despite the fact that 56% of the public seems to be on Washington. That's kind of interesting. Looking at the Brooklyn side first, I'm definitely interested in Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie above everyone else. I'm okay with DeAndre Jordan. Him and Allen are kind of playing a weird game rotationally with minutes. But Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie are the ones that I'm highly interested in. Their prices are up, but keep in mind, Washington is a very fast-paced team. We expect them to play well. Go to your bed, boy. And even though the prices are elevated, we have to take into account that they're going to get a massive pace boost in this spot, also matching up with a really bad defense. So Dinwiddie and LeVert, I'm definitely interested in. I'm okay with the hit with Joe Harris and all these other guys. Like I said, I think this is a really good spot for center. It is a really good spot for center. So DeAndre Jordan or Jared Allen, whichever one you think is going to win the minutes battle. But Dinwiddie and LeVert are the main two I'm looking in at. I did over-project LeVert a little bit because, remember, it's going to take him a while for his projection on the season to catch up to what his usage is now with Kyrie Irving out. So, again, you see the ceiling minutes, I guess, for LeVert. That was an intentional thing because I want to make sure I do work some LeVert shares in. I mean, this is a game-stackable game for sure. So in game stacks, that's when I'm comfortable overpaying for certain players in tournaments. On the Washington side, we've got... Boy, you gonna play with a different toy, man. Bite your bone. Enough of this. Play with a different toy. On the Washington side, Shabazz Napier, man, he in that last game went to OT. He kind of overtook Ish Smith's role. He closed. He had a massive game, which is just awesome. And we know what his upside is. We know what he's capable of doing. So I'm okay with him for value today. I don't think we don't want to overreact and just assume that, okay, now that means he's going to overtake Ish every single game. But even at 26 minutes, he still projects for 6.21x on FanDuel and 5.81 on DraftKings, which is pretty solid. Now, in that last game, they were missing Bertans. They were missing Thomas Bryant. So we'll have to pay attention to see what happens. But obviously, Bradley Beal, who ended up getting there in overtime last time out, would be someone that we can consider once again as a potential spend up for game stack. So again, I think this is a highly game stackable game. We'll check the status on a lot of these Washington players, see who's in or out. But this is definitely one of the game stack candidates of the night, no doubt. Next up, we got the Orlando Magic and the Atlanta Hawks. We have a 229 total, which we know for the Magic is massive, right? They're another one of those slow-paced teams. Atlanta's just so fast that they just boost everybody up. So that's going to give us some value with the Orlando side. Not necessarily price value, but we know that they're going to get more opportunities than they usually do. Evan Fournier projects the best as of now. He's pretty comfortably playing 32 to 33 minutes every single game. The usage is fine. The price is solid. I like Vooch. I like his spot. Obviously, we're going to have to over-project his minutes to get him to get where we want him to be, but this is a great spot for centers. Aaron Gordon is also priced up, very expensive, kind of playing more like the Aaron Gordon we knew from last season lately. Again, his projection is going to take some time to catch up for this new kind of role he's been in since Isaac has been out. But he's another tournament play. This is another game stack type game for me. Well, I'm willing to overplay for players in a game stack, but outside of game stacks, it's difficult for me to just grab one-offs here and there because of the pricing of these guys, except for maybe like an Evan Fournier or maybe even a Vooch, because at some point, raw points do matter and come into account. On the... let me just check the schedule real quick. Forgot that part. So for the Brooklyn-Washington, I forgot to mention it. 1 day off, 3-5 for Brooklyn. 1 day off, 4-6 for Washington. Something to keep in mind. If I was betting today, I'd probably bet on Brooklyn. I like to bet the schedule. The Magic are working with a day off. So is Atlanta. Now, Trae Young is questionable with an illness. Should he play, I'm good with him as a stud. However, if he's out, that's really going to make us like John Collins even more. It's going to make us look at Kevin Huerter becomes a phenomenal play in that sense. He's already a decent play, especially on FanDuel. He becomes a phenomenal play if Trae Young is out. And then, of course, we'll look at Jeff Teague, who's 3,300 on DraftKings, 35 on FanDuel. He hasn't been great in the past when he started. He just really hasn't been all that great. We know Cam Reddish is capable of also playing some point guard. But if Trae Young were to miss and Teague were to start, then I'd be comfortable kind of loading up because of how cheap he is. Just kind of hard to see him burning you. Dwayne Dedmon is a value option center that I think can end up going lower owned. Foul trouble has been an issue for him. But looking at his history against Vooch has never really gotten him in foul trouble, probably because he's such more of a perimeter player. That could lead to Dedmon not being the greatest matchup defensively for Vooch, which is why I like him. If Atlanta feels like he can't cover him on the perimeter, but he can't cover him anyway. Let's be real, he ain't covering nobody. But Dedmon does have a pretty solid point per minute average, and Vooch is not as good as he is on offense. He is not very good defensively. So I'm kind of interested in him as a potential value center on DraftKings at 4,300. Again, I think that they will play him 28 minutes if he stays out of foul trouble. The issue, that's a big if though, because he's gotten 5 fouls in I think 3 or 4 straight games. DeAndre Hunter's playing monster minutes. He continues to play well. He's a minutes play for me every single day. They took him off the injury report, so he's good to go. So I'm good with him as well. And be ready to give these guys a boost if Trae Young does get ruled out. If Trae Young is in, however, then things are going to stand as they are. And I'm cool with these guys in game stacks, but I'm not in love with anyone in particular. But I will probably take some shots on Dedmon, I think. Me thinks. Next up, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Miami Heat. We've got a 232.5 total. Miami opened up -9.5. They're up to -10. I think we're expecting Buckets to make his return. We're not sure. He was out for personal reasons, but we're thinking he's going to come back. 1 day off for Minnesota, but it is a 4-6 stretch. 1 day off as well for Miami. So Naz Reid, very solid point per minute average. Similarly to Dedmon, foul trouble has been an issue for him. He's going to be matched up with Bam Adebayo, who I don't think is going to command foul trouble, but it's obviously a possibility. So something to keep in mind. On FanDuel at 4,700 at power forward eligibility is pretty clutch there. On DraftKings at center, he still projects well for us, but he is a center. So if you play him, you're going to take away from some of your other options. Malik Beasley continues to play a bunch of minutes and take a bunch of shots. I'm good with D'Lo for tournaments. I'm okay with the Minnesota side, but it's the Miami side that's a little more interesting, being that they're the ones that are going to be paced up. Teams that play Minnesota lately have just been going off, and this game has one of the highest totals. Well, it's tied for he's amongst some of the highest. We have a lot of high totals. Let me be clear about that first of all, right? We have a lot of high totals today. But the Miami side is the one that's going to be a little more interesting for us today. It's a bone. It's a bone. Boy. All the damn toys he's got in his room. We got like 3 bones. He decides to play with the squeaky toy. He knows what he's doing. He's fucking with me. All right. Anyway, if Buckets returns, I do like Buckets in this matchup. I mean, you could say revenge if you want. None of the guys he had a problem with are playing. All right, Cat's been out. Wiggins is gone. So I don't know about revenge. It's just a matter of it's a really good spot against Minnesota, a very poor defensive team that plays fast. If Butler does return, I do think that's going to push Dragic's minutes down a little bit. He wasn't getting a ton to begin with. I mean, around 30, but you really want him to go a little over 30. Kendrick Nunn, curious to see what happens with him. He kind of went into the doghouse when Butler was out. He's kind of stepped up and emerged, and he started getting minutes. But we'll have to take a wait-and-see approach with him and see what happens. With that said, let's take a look at what we got. Bam Adebayo is kind of interesting, I think. Bam Adebayo is kind of interesting. I expect Minnesota to really struggle against bigs. They got Naz Reid, who's not the greatest defender, and they don't really have anyone behind him. They got like James Johnson playing the 5 behind him at the moment with Cat out. So I do think it's a really good matchup for him. Obviously, the price is elevated. Obviously, Butler is back, so the usage may go down. But I'm definitely interested in Bam. It's a matter of if we can reach him. But the Miami side of that is where you're going to want to kind of concentrate a lot of your focus in. We'll go on to the Memphis-Houston game. I'll pop into the chat after this one and take a quick look. We've got a 237.5 total, which is the highest on the board. The Rockets opened up -10. They're up to -11.5. The Memphis players, man, a lot of these guys is looking pretty strong. We know Jaren Jackson Jr. and Brandon Clark are both out. So whenever there's injuries, we have a few spots like that. Whenever there's injuries, we're going to get opportunity for other players. Gorgie Dieng has played well. His price is up, but he's still projecting well. His point per minute average this season has been awesome, even when he was with his other team, Minnesota. So even though the price is elevated, he still projects well for us. And he's playing Houston, a team that doesn't really have much of don't have any centers, really. Dylan Brooks is cheap. He continues to kind of struggle. They like his defensive presence. They like the way he plays defense. I'm okay with him. I think on FanDuel at 4-1, that's just ridiculously low. But on DraftKings, you can see a lot of these Memphis guys look good. Josh Jackson, I do like. I expect him to start at power forward today. I'm definitely willing to go back to him. DeAnthony Melton, once again, I think they'll need him for defense, especially with these 2 guards on the other side. So I'm good with a lot of these guys. Joe Val, if you want to take a shot on. Memphis is a team that I think that we should be ready to grab some exposure to. It's the highest total board on the game, and they're thin. They're missing 2 of their power forwards, so I'm interested. On the Houston side, Eric Gordon is questionable. We'll have to take a wait-and-see approach with him. He missed in the last game. He started for Westbrook, who missed, and then he eventually left the game and didn't come back due to a sore knee. So he's someone to keep an eye on. If he's out, it'll make me like Covington more. I'll definitely raise his minutes. I really like what we've seen from Covington recently. Hey, bite your bone. Get your bone. Or bite that shit. So Covington is a guy that it'll make me like more. Westbrook should be back. Harden. This is a phenomenal matchup for both of them. Guards have just done dirties to Memphis all season long. So this is a really good spot for both of those guys. And Harden, I should probably raise. I think I'm being a little weird with Harden's minutes. I should probably raise him. I usually project him around 38, which is where I think he should be. I mean, these guys get a lot of minutes, typically even in blowouts. They beat the Knicks up so bad that Harden only got like 34, but that's a rarity. And honestly, he didn't even need to get 34. They could have pulled him even earlier than that. I think it was 30. Maybe it was 30. I don't know. But phenomenal spot, man. Harden, go look at the history. He's destroyed this team over and over again. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. The new house, potential value option, he'll be a lot more attractive if Eric Gordon is out. But again, another situation where we got to take a wait and see approach. This is the highest total on the night, so something to keep in mind. Checking out the chat real quick. To Nelson, what up, mofos? Allen ripped this team up last time. He's sneaky. He's definitely sneaky, absolutely. There's no doubt. Young flu-like symptoms. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with him. Again, guys, if you haven't hit that like button already, please hit that like button. It really helps us out. Apologize for being distracted with the little pup here, but he's a 3-month-old dog, and he's mad good. He's a real good dog. But unfortunately, if I put him outside the office, he's gonna cry all day. I bring him in the office, and now he wants to bite everything in my office. So hopefully he just kind of chills out like a good little boy. Yeah. And then we go up on the show. All right. Hit the like button, guys. It helps us out. We really need it. Next up, we got Dallas and San Antonio. This is obviously one of the more marquee games on the night due to the injuries on the Spurs side. Let's pull up Dallas real quick. Pull up Dallas. We have a 232 total, which is really high for the San Antonio Spurs. Well, really, I guess not. I guess both of these teams suck at defense for the most part. Although Dallas has been a little better this year when Luka and Porzingis are in. Anyway, Dallas is currently favored by 4.5 on the road. It's interesting. It came down from 5.5. It's a good sign for the Spurs. Luka Doncic remains to be a phenomenal stud play. Probably my favorite spend up on the slate, no doubt. Underpriced on both sides, I believe. If this game is competitive and close, as the spread indicates, then I see no reason he wouldn't get a ceiling of minutes. We got screwed last time. It was a blowout. He got 25 minutes, but I'm definitely interested. Kristaps Porzingis, his price is elevated. However, the Spurs give up a ton of points in the paint. That's not always Porzingis' game, but if he's ready to take advantage of that, I am cool with it. I actually think we should give him a little bit of a boost, just to see. Let's just see if that helps. Give him a little half a minute boost there and see, because I do want to make sure that he starts popping and we get a little bit of him. After that, I'm not really interested in too many other guys considering their pricing. It's really Luka and Porzingis, mainly Luka. Again, Luka, as of right now, projecting to be one of the top studs, or the top stud on the slate. Now we get to the San Antonio side, which I know a lot of people were interested. As you can see, a lot of these guys projecting well. DeMar DeRozan, phenomenal play today. We've seen his usage elevate without LMA in the past. I think DeJounte Murray is a solid option in tournaments today. His minutes are always inconsistent, but we expect his usage to be higher when he is on the court. And then we get into the obvious plays, Trey Lyles and Jakob Poeltl. I'm still on the fence if I would play them together. I think I would because they're so cheap, but I'm a little concerned that one would not correlate with the other. I do like Jakob Poeltl. I know some of you were asking in the chat. I like Jakob Poeltl simply because it's a matchup thing. When they're playing a team that's not big, then I'm not really interested. I'm not going to force it. But they're playing a team that does have some size between Maxi Kleber and Porzingis. Not dominant size, but actual size. So it makes me think maybe they will want Poeltl. Now, I understand Trey Lyles can easily come down there and shift. And I think Lyles can match up a little bit with Porzingis. So maybe, I don't know. As of right now, I think it's okay to play them together. But maybe by the end of the day, we decide to make a rule where you don't play them together. I'm not quite sure. But in the meantime, I do like Poeltl, assuming he starts. Now, if he don't start, I'm not playing that game. If they do some weird shit and they start Lyles at the 5 or something, then whoever starts, that's the guy I'm going to get higher exposure to, and I'll lower the exposure on the other one. So wait and see approach as far as lineup goes, but I'm expecting Poeltl to start, and if he does, I'm definitely interested. I mean, 3,200 on DraftKings, it's just tough to really see him really hurting you as long as he gets at least 23 to 25 minutes like we're expecting. So yes, I am interested in Jakob Poeltl. But DeMar DeRozan, one of my favorite plays on the slate, no doubt. I'm interested in Murray. A lot of these guys. This game has a high total, and we have value everywhere. So I'm definitely interested. Even guys like Patty Mills and all these, everyone's going to get a boost in some way. So I'm cool with it. I do like Jakob Poeltl, to be clear. To be clear. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Clippers and the Phoenix Suns. We've got a 232 total also. This is down actually from 233. The Clippers opened up -5.5. They're up to -7. We know Kelly Oubre is out for this one. So they'll be down one of their higher usage players. By the way, San Antonio working with 2 days rest. Dallas working with 1 day rest in the midst of a 4-6. San Antonio working with 2 days rest. So a little bit of a schedule mismatch there. Again, there's 2 bets we got now. We got Brooklyn and we got San Antonio. I may do a parlay today. We'll see. The Clippers are working with a day off. Phoenix also working with a day off, though it is a 4-6 stretch for Phoenix. We mentioned the lineup and spread already. Marcus Morris, we always talk about. He projects well every day because he's like his projection for this season is based off his role for the Knicks. Obviously, a much lower role here. Patrick Beverley is 3,900 on DraftKings, making him a very interesting value play, assuming he does start. Montrezl Harrell, this is a smash spot for him. The minutes are kind of up in the air. The Clippers just got a lot deeper, assuming that PG and everybody's healthy and playing. So there's a little hesitation, but we know he's a high per minute player. We know Phoenix is awful against centers. And the price is right. So would you rather play like Naz Reid if they were both going to get 27 minutes? And that's the thing. I think Naz Reid, because assuming he starts, we know how many minutes he should, at least as long as he says it's a foul trouble, we have an idea. Montrezl Harrell, the range of outcomes is massive on minutes. But a phenomenal matchup for Montrezl. I'm definitely interested. PG, I'm okay with, man. I mean, he's nursing a hamstring. If the game don't stay close, that's my biggest concern here is this game staying competitive. But if it does, I'm cool with Kawhi as a potential spend up. I'm good with Paul George being how cheap he is. I don't expect Paul George to get a 33, 34 minute run, but if he were to at this price, you'd be ready. I mean, you'd be ready to load up if he was going to be this price. The Suns side, we know that Kelly Oubre is out. We're assuming that Cam Johnson and Dario Saric are going to get more minutes because of it, and because of that, they're projecting a little bit better. I don't know what they're going to do, who they're going to start. Let's take a look at the usage. How about that? I'm gonna load up Phoenix. We're gonna look at the Phoenix Suns, and I'm gonna tell you guys what the usage looks like. So no Kelly Oubre. Obviously, Kaminsky's been out. Think we're good. This dog finally went to sleep after all that, giving me a hard time. Shows we're at the end of the show. He finally went to sleep. So Devin Booker, obviously, that's one of the more obvious ones. 32.4% usage rate, 1.29 fantasy points per minute. Ricky Rubio, 22.9% usage rate, 1.2 fantasy points per minute. Cameron Johnson, 16.1% usage. Dario Saric, 18.8. So on a usage front, Saric looks a little bit better. Even the point per minute average, Cameron Johnson, without Oubre on the court, is averaging 0.73 fantasy points per minute, while Saric is averaging 0.95. So I think I lean Saric, but I'll tell you right now, if Saric doesn't start, like again, I'm gonna prefer to have. I'll play them both, but I'm gonna prefer to have more of the starter. That's just something that we've learned, especially this season, in terms of like risk. Doesn't mean I'm not gonna have any of the other one. It just means that I'll probably go with more of whoever starts, and I think Dario Saric will be the one. He used to start earlier this season, so that's what I'm waiting for. DeAndre Ayton, 25.2% usage rate, 1.29 fantasy points per minute as well. So Rubio, Booker, and Aiden, I think all get a boost. I like Aiden's price on DraftKings at 8-1. I'll have exposure to all three of those guys, and I think Dario Saric is the value option that I'm going to take a shot on the most with. But I will have some Cam Johnson as well. I think they both benefit. They're both extremely cheap, and they should both see minutes, especially in a blowout. Cam Johnson will still play. Dario Saric maybe even will still play. So that makes those value plays a little bit safer. As far as like your mainstays here, like I said, Ricky Rubio, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, those are some of the players I'd be looking at. I don't mind Mikal Bridges either. I know he projects well also, and I kind of just skipped over him. He's just so scoring dependent that it just gets annoying sometimes. I'm okay with him as well. Last game, we got the Boston Celtics visiting the Utah Jazz. We've got a 218.5 total. The Jazz are currently 4.5-point favorites at home. Boston continues their road trip out west. In terms of the schedule, this is a back end of a back-to-back for Boston. A 4-6. This is one of the tougher schedule spots you can come across. Back end of a back-to-back, 4-6. Utah, and of course on the road in Utah. Utah's had a day off. They're on a 4-6 also. They've kind of been a disaster this season. Starting with the Boston side, I'm good with Jaylen Brown. He did well for us yesterday. I'm okay with them. Daniel Tice, I'm okay with. They need some bigs. They don't seem willing to play Cantor all that much. Jason Tatum's been balling out like crazy. This is a tougher place to play for some people. I do think Gordon Hayward is the most interesting to me just for narrative purposes. On FanDuel at 6'8", a little easier to reach, but he used to play for Utah for a long time. So if there's anybody that knows how to play there, it's him. So I am kind of interested. Plus, he only got 31 minutes last night, and I think that could have been partially to conserve him a little because he's been playing monster minutes. So I think it could have been like a conservation kind of thing, knowing they had a game the next day. But I'm interested in Hayward. I'm cool with these Boston dudes, but I'm not like it's. I do understand it's not the greatest spot in the world either. On the Utah side, Mike Conley projects well for us. I'm good with him. Donovan Mitchell has played really well his last couple games. We've seen Boston struggle against guys that can shoot like this. I think Mitchell and Clarkson kind of fit that build. You know Mitchell's going to get his first crack at it, so he would be the first place. Rudy Gobert should play big minutes. His price is relatively cheap, and Boston's bad against centers. They got Tice, who's and Cantor they don't want neither of which are known for their defense. So I think the Utah side, there's definitely some opportunity for sure. It's crazy to me that Conley, as a starter, playing 33, 34 minutes lately, is cheaper on DraftKings than Jordan Clarkson. That's kind of strange. But that's going to do it for us for the early look, guys. Again, if you can hit the like button, it goes a long way. I see there's a few of you watching. We got some people watching, but we only got 6 likes. That just doesn't seem like a pretty good ratio. I understand it. I apologize for being a little distracted. And I'm going to be like that. It is what it is. The dog is my family now. So I'll be a little distracted as long as I got to deal with this dog till he gets a little bigger. But I'm not letting this asshole run around my house. Why am I calling him an asshole? It's just a language thing, But I'm not going to let this dude run around my house eating all my shitting everywhere. So with that said, he's a good boy, though. He is. I make it seem like he's not. He is, though. So cope with me, bear with me for these early look shows when I go in and out like that. But for the most part, we got through it. I think it's a pretty good slate. I feel good about it. The projections are up. I'll be adjusting them throughout the day. We know we're waiting for Trae Young news, and there's a couple other things that popped up. So hit the like button, guys. There we go. Now we're seeing some likes come in. I appreciate you. Hit the like button. Make sure you come back and check us out for the live stream, for the NBA Wise stream. Starts at 5 p.m. Eastern. It'll be the first hour will be a game by game with myself, similar to this, after we've updated our projections again. And then, of course, we bring Paulie on for the second hour, talk some game theory, try to answer some questions as we build our teams as well, and lead you guys up to lock to make sure you have all the information that breaks out late. So we'll be back. We do have a guest coming on for tomorrow, second half of tomorrow's show. So we're excited about that. You'll just have to tune in tomorrow and see who the guest is. But it's a friend of the nation. He's been on shows before, but should be a lot of fun. So hit that like button. Hit me up on Twitter. If you're a member of the WiseTake Nation, hit us up in Slack, whatever the case may be. I'll be working on the projections all day, hence the cheat sheet automatically all day. And we'll be back at it for the Wise stream later, and we're going to take down some donkeys. I feel it. We're going to take down some donkeys tonight. There's no doubt. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.